all say, who is Doctor Who? Where is he from? What does he do? They wonder who is Doctor Who? So I ask you, who's Doctor Who?
And now it's time for our main story. The Doctor Who Peter Cushing films have been part of the Doctor Who collecting world and the media world since they appeared on the big screens in the UK and the US more than 50 years ago. Sadly, the United States response was not as great as the response in the UK. However, in the UK, Dalek mania was sweeping across the nation with great excitement, lots of marketing opportunities, kids pretending to be Daleks, and the whole thing just kind of spiraled, making Doctor Who itself a big success. The latest book to hit the shelves is Doctor Who and the Daleks, the official story of the films, and joining me is the author, John Walsh. John, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Larry. It's great to be here, and fabulous to see your amazing Doctor Who room there.
Thank you.
My eyes are darting around like the Artful Dodger, thinking, what will I have if I had 5 minutes in that room? I see some talking Daleks to the left.
Yes. I've got two Palatoy talking Daleks.
Nice.
I've got a gold Dalek from Day of the Daleks, one of the busts. Of course, I've got the film poster is on canvas. That was done for me. And some of the things that one of the things your book really reminded me of was I have the original VHS release that came out in the United States. This I got from a video store that was going out of business, and while I was there, he also gave me, and I'll see if I can show this up to the camera here. This is let's see, where is it here? Yes. It's kind of bulky, but I've got it in a book here. But this particular poster.
Ooh, that is very nice.
Yes,
he was Thorny in my HBO promo poster.
Yes,
very nice.
He had it on the wall, and I said, "What are you going to do with that?" And he said, "Oh, I'm just going to toss it." And I said, "Well, could I have it?" He said, "Sure." So I got it off the wall, and it's been in my possession since 1983. So it's just a wonderful thing. Your book, just for the fact that I believe it is sold out in the first print.
It is sold out. It's sold out. What happened was it was announced in March 2022, and it was available to pre-order in various online purchasers like Amazon and others. And they sold out then, and it was quite a secret amongst the publisher and ourselves that, oh, we sold out. So they went and printed more, and that's why the release date was slightly later. It should have been, I think, October, and it became late November. But then on day one in December, when it finally hit for people to buy it, it sold out in the UK day one. Apparently in the first minute. I don't know how these things work, but of all my other books, it's the one that sold the fastest so far. So that's it's quite satisfying, I suppose.
Well, you hit a market that is extremely aware and ready to grab, and many people have grabbed multiple copies of these books. I mean, I for one, I order two whenever something comes out, but I got one, and the other one I didn't get because I guess they fulfilled all the orders, and then they went and told me, sorry, it's on back order. But I do have my copy right here, so I'm happy to have it. I love the I would say I love the size of the book. I love the embossed cover. It reminds me of some of David J. Howe's publications that he does when he puts out these really fancy books with ribbons and covers in that. So I think it's a really wonderful book. Did you have a say in the design and that, or is that all? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
No, I work really closely with the publisher and with the design team. So I always, anytime I make these special film books, and I should say, by the way, David Howe helped me with this book. So lots of the fans and wonderful people like David have been great contributors. I always have a thought to the cover. The first day I start a new book, I'm like, I want it to be this cover. And so from my other sort of classic film books, I've always wanted it to be the original cinema poster. And sometimes it's not always available, or it's not good enough quality. But this one, I have a big love of the artwork here by Tom Chantrell, who created one of the first Star Wars posters. And as you say, you're a fan of that yourself. So it works ideally, and no one else thought to use it when the film was reissued there on Blu-ray 10 years ago and then on 4K last year. Thankfully, none of the rights holders thought, oh, we'll use that picture. So
Yeah,
I was quite relieved.
yeah, they use a different artwork here on the Blu-rays, and this was kind of nice too that these came out just recently. And your book seems to have triggered a resurgence of interest in the Doctor Who world of the Peter Cushing movies. And there's always been a big following of that. Lots of groups and discussion groups, Facebook groups, all dedicated to Peter Cushing is the true Doctor kind of thing. And so your book kind of opened up that world again, where Dalek collectibles are now back on the market. They're a little bit more expensive now, including the fact that your book is now selling on eBay for almost $60. So people have already put your books up there for sale. So it's coming to that point. And just when I went through, the first thing I did, of course, I went through the entire book, and I loved just opening it up and seeing the drawings of the dimensions and all the information. I mean, this book is probably the best gathering of information about these films that I've ever seen. And I've read a few books about the films. In fact, you credit some of those books in your bibliography.
Yes.
And of course, I did go through I looked at the list of contributors, and it was good to see some of my friends in there, like David Howe and Colin Young, wonderful people that, and I thought, with a project of especially with films that were 57 years old, it's got to be difficult to find things. So how easy was it to do the research, or how difficult was it to do the research?
Well, sort of going back to all of my other books, they're very image reliant. So when it was Harryhausen, The Lost Movies, then Flash Gordon and Escape from New York. And as you rightly say, Larry, if you're fans of these films, you will have seen these photos before.
Mm-hmm.
So to some extent, you want to present what people know. But I always, because I'm a bit of a Doctor Who fanboy, I know if it's an unpublished picture because I know if I've seen it before. And so those pictures were great to find. Studio Canal had many of those, and also the other thing Studio Canal had, who are now the rights holder for these films, is very high quality images. So lots of the ones that have been passed around publications over the years are average quality, but these ones, they've had if you like, a 4K upscale. Because if you think you've seen this picture before, look again, because the detail, you can see the threads on the actors' garments and so on. And also you can see them in a larger frame size. So they haven't been cropped down and down and down and reduped. So where possible, there's a shot, I think, of the Daleks exploding the shed in the second film.
Yes,
and
yes.
The picture was shot on what's called medium format, which is what old school photographers would have used to have photographed weddings, sort of in the post-war weddings in the 40s and 50s and so on. And that's a very large format. It's about 2.5 times the frame size of 35mm, and it's square. But often when pictures would go to newspapers, they'd be cropped and they'd be duped down onto paper, and they'd be in a slight sort of Academy ratio. So what I'm eventually getting around to saying here is that when you show the full image uncropped, you can see the cables and sometimes the lighting from the studio. And that picture that's in the book and many of the others have been shown completely uncropped in an open gate format. So you can see things that you won't have seen before. And other people might say, well, I'm not interested in seeing the cables that have been left by the lighting department. I am. I want to see that. So, there.
I think that's an important part of it too, because it is with the magic of what they do on the screen. Of course, there are those things, and just recently, actually, one of my recent interviews was with the great Peter Purves, who was his first story was a Dalek story, and he had a lot of opinions about working with Daleks. He said it was completely horrible because they took up all the studio space, because you're talking about maybe a 5-foot space between the camera and where you are, and the Dalek took 3 feet of that. So you had to allow for this thing. He said it was very difficult to do, but it's nice to see on the big screen. Of course, there's large lots, there's large scale things, and of course the Peter Cushing himself. And I've heard interviews with Peter Cushing. He plays this part as he plays many parts, including Sherlock Holmes and Van Helsing, but had no interest in being the TV Doctor. when he came down to it. He said he just didn't care. He didn't follow the show. But I thought he was brilliant in these films. I thought he's actually the perfect character. He's the perfect actor. Was there a lot of information about Peter Cushing that you could pull out just for these two films that he did, or was it just, you know?
Yes, there was. I mean,
Okay.
and in answer to the Peter Cushing Doctor Who television question, he was asked later on. I mean, there is some evidence that he was asked to be in one of this series in the late 70s, early 80s as a non-Doctor Who character, and he was sounded out as being a possible Doctor himself. And in my conversations with Stephen Moffat, who was the controller or the show's showrunner there for Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi, he did try to get Peter Cushing involved in the 50th anniversary Doctor Who mini movie that was created, where all the Doctors came together, and we saw a sneak preview of Peter Capaldi's eyes. And we see all of the previous Doctors, and some of them have been recreated using CGI. And I know Steve Moffat wanted to include Peter Cushing in that, but that ultimately didn't happen because there was a rights issue between the owners of Doctor Who, the television series, which is the BBC, and these films, which is entirely owned by Studio Canal. And I won't say there was a tension between both companies, but there was a difference of opinion between both companies, which meant a book in the past could not happen. And that difference was changed during the last couple of years, so this book could happen. You know, this is not a BBC licensed product.
Right.
So as a result, it's not official Doctor Who. It's not official Doctor Who because it isn't. You know, it's officially about these films. But as you'll see, the way Doctor Who is spelt, it's even spelt differently. It's the abbreviated Doctor, Dr. And of course, he refers to himself as Doctor and Who as a surname, you know, like Dr. Smith. Hello, I'm Doctor Who.
Right.
So there are all those kind of narrative differences. But in terms of the legal ownership of the films, Studio Canal is entitled to release them in film formats. So whether it's on disc or on tape, or as a streaming service or in cinemas and so on. But to create products from them, such as movie Dalek toys and other things, that's been problematic over the years. And there have been a limited amount of toys. But to do a book like this, Tyson Books, who do work with the BBC and produce through Tyson Comics, Doctor Who official comics and whatnot, they felt that they needed to have the BBC on board. I was keen to have the BBC on board for my own reasons, because I wanted to have Peter Cushing on the same page as William Hartnell. And although this has been done in BBC licensed products like Doctor Who magazine, it's never been allowed outside of that. So we had to have a sit down and ask, and the BBC were keen to know in what context would William Hartnell, the first Doctor, appear, what pictures we're going to use. There we go. You've got them.
I'm just going to hold that up so the viewers can see what he was talking about, the picture of Peter Cushing with William Hartnell on the same page. Yeah, I saw that too, and I thought that's probably the first time I've ever seen that juxtaposition there. You know, with the way, and especially these two, and a nice colorized photo of William Hartnell, and of course the way Peter Cushing's costume was designed, it's very similar, not exactly the same, but it's very close to that idea. And I also, you know, because when I first opened the book and I turned to the page with some of the toys, and I was like, oh, this is great, because I do have some of these. You know, I have a movie Dalek here.
Very nice.
This one's still sealed. I have another one that I inflate and take to conventions. He's a lot of fun. You mention the Dodge the Daleks game. Not many of these exist, but
Ooh.
I do have one. It's in really nice shape, but it actually they took this game from the Dalek book that came out in 1964. It was that's this one here, of course, the Dalek book. They did a lot of you know, you have this one in your book too, the paint and draw the film.
I love that. That's fabulous.
It's a great one. The Dalek Pocket Book and Space Guide, which is in there as well. I've got several of these too. These were floating around the United States back in the 80s, and there was a couple dealers that had these, and they had a $20 price tag on them. So I picked up a few. Now it's $200 or more for a copy of that. couple other things I found. I don't know if you found these. I have the campaign books.
Yes. Yeah.
These are wonderful, and these opened the door to me to tell me that there were things that were possible, like full cardboard cutouts and things that I don't know if they actually existed, or theaters had them and threw them away, but I have never seen them.
They're in the book, so you can find it as
Yes.
part of the second film for the promotional with the cereal from the Quaker Company for Sugar Puffs.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw those in the book. And of course, other, the novelization was very successful. It's one of the best written novelizations in Doctor Who. Whenever people review Target books or Doctor Who books, David Whittaker's Doctor Who and the Daleks is the gold standard for novelizations. And of course, the Pink Dust Jacket one was great. They even did it in Dutch.
Oh, wow.
That's the Dutch hardcover from '64. So they have that, and you may, I don't know if this was, I forgot to know if this was, I think this was in the book as well. This is the American publication of Doctor Who and the Daleks that came out after the movies premiered here, and it didn't sell at all.
Oh.
It was kind of a, people had it out, it didn't sell, it ended up in the used book bin, and so these are floating all over the United States. Of course, the cover is Go-Go Girls and some toy Daleks. So it's quite, but the marketing was something else. I'm not sure if you're aware of these kind of floated around the underground, but these are the Smithy Doctor Who and the Daleks based on the AARU movie.
Oh, right. No, I've not seen those. No.
Yeah, these are, this is what's called a Target for Tommy. This was a charity that raised money. Tommy was a big Doctor Who fan in the UK, and he passed away of a rare disease. And so people got together and wrote several of these, what we call the Peter Cushing world of books. There's 8 total, including Doctor Who Invades the Moon Base, Doctor Who and the Icemen from Mars, and things like that, just to raise money for that. These are not licensed, but they kind of turned away a blind eye because it was a charity. They did one for Dalek Invasion Earth 2150 AD as well. So these are actual novelizations of the films. So
yeah, with the difficulty we have with these books, and I'm having at the moment with the new book I'm doing, is having anything that's kind of fan related put into a book kind of gives it official license status, and licensors sometimes become nervous about that. They're like, oh, so we certainly wouldn't be able to put anything like that in the book. But even when it came to including the toys and the merchandise, it's a slight blur as to which Daleks are from TV and which are from film, because the later ones we have are clearly the film ones. And there you go, you've got those.
Yeah, I've got these too. These were nice. And a good friend of mine down not too far from me has a couple of the large Dalek movie radio controlled Daleks.
I have those, yeah.
The movies, and I do have a Dalek pencil from 1964.
Wow. So that would be a TV merch. So
this is TV.
We try to create, we try to only include merch that would cover 65 to 66, but very little of it was movie specific merch. It was kind of general Dalek merch, Dalek Mania merch.
Yeah, this was the Dalek Mania limited edition for the movie. Has a VHS tape with a little documentary and some posters, and I'm not sure if you saw this one.
Yes, I've seen that one. That's
good.
fabulous. That's really nice.
They're really great. The whole idea of, and of course it's also inspired. This came out not long ago. The illustrated Doctor Who Daleks, kind of reprinting that David Whittaker story with new artwork and a new binding, and even putting the Target logo on it, which makes it real iconic. And that's a lot of the Dalek. Of course, I still got a Rollykins movie Dalek here too as well. Those are so much fun, and like I said, I could spend. In fact, I've done it. I've spent hours presenting merchandise because I've got thousands of items in the. But I love seeing. I love opening the book here. I also have a Dalek Berwick playsuit. I don't have. The only thing I'm missing though is I'm missing the gun and the eye stock. I've got a plunger, but it's in the original box with the Berwick on there. So it's those were a lot of fun. Dalek voice changer helmets and things like that. There were so many. I mean, as far as the movie and the TV series, they went they kind of paralleled when the Beatles landed, and they put the Beatles on everything. And they did the same thing with Daleks. You know, there was Dalek Bubble Bath, there was Dalek, you know, Dalek Games, Dalek blaster guns, and things like that. It was just an amazing thing that after the almost failed consequence of Doctor Who and the Unearthly Child, 4 episodes, the viewers weren't taking it. They come back the next week, and all of a sudden, millions of people are tuning into the show, inspiring these films coming later, you know, to kind of bring those stories to a wider audience. I was a little disappointed when I did, you know, another research I did when they appeared here in the United States. They just didn't do well at all. Nobody really went to see them. Nobody really knew what it was about. I first saw Doctor Who and the Daleks when I was 5 years old on TV, and I was just enthralled by it. I thought it was amazing, and it's still a movie I go to every once in a while to watch. It's on streaming services. I've got the 4K now. I can watch this thing in really good, and there's some great scenes. And one of the things I noticed in here, you've got a lot of these wonderful scenes of the Daleks, and you know how they, you know, when the truck runs through the Daleks and knocks a few of them out, and there's just some really wonderful things, some great behind the scenes of them building one of the Daleks. That's also been an inspiration too lately. People are building Daleks and downloading plans and putting the, you know, building movie Daleks are an especially important thing. So I guess one of the things I wanted to ask is, did you think that when this book came out, you would not only inspire the film people that are out this, but the entire Doctor Who world kind of embrace this book?
Yeah, so I've been asking to do this book for a few years now with the publisher, and they were unsure if there was a big enough market for it.
Well.
Which is yeah, absolutely. You know. But in the time that I asked them and the time the book came out, the delay might have been a good thing, because in 2018 I was writing my first book for them, and then 2019, 2020 we were having the discussions, and the Blu-ray box sets for the Doctor Who classic series were starting to emerge. And I know even the BBC were unsure if you could reissue standard definition programs that were upscaled to Blu-ray and ask the same customers to come back again and buy them. And I know there was a bit of concern amongst fans whether or not there was an interest in that. And of course, they took off like a rocket. And when my book came out there on the 6th of December in the UK, coincidentally, it was the same day as Series 2, the William Hartnell series, which includes the long-form television version. And lots of people said to me, oh, is this why you've delayed your book so you can make use of the shared publicity? And it genuinely wasn't. It was, we were trying to get it out as early as possible before Christmas. And that it was a coincidence that both first Doctors, the first movie Doctor and the first TV Doctor, would appear on people's doormats and mailboxes on the same day. I mean, what are the chances of that? So no, we're really excited by the reaction to it. A second edition is on its way.
Good.
But so that's great. So all of my books have so far gone second edition within 6 months, but this is the first one to go green light second edition within like the first hour of publication. So but you know, you always do concern yourself, you know, will there be a market for it? I know in the past people have criticized these films, but Studio Canal have worked closely with me, and I do with them and with Tyson Books. So we've kind of got a great little operation going where we talk about everything. You know, there's nothing off the table. You know, images that we find. The key thing for me, because I was limited by the amount of pages, I would like to have had an even bigger book.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It was larger with more pages. I wanted to do 2 books. So when we finally agreed this book was going ahead, I said, look, can I do 2? And we can put them in a kind of a cardboard gatefold. And they were like, it'd be quite expensive. We'd have to charge over £50. And if it didn't work and there wasn't a market for it. So I could understand that. But then my frustration came when I had all these wonderful photos and I wanted everything to have a full page. So there was a handful of pictures in there that I was really keen and insisted on, but not overpoweringly insisted on. But there were some images there that I really felt had to have a full page, even if we cut the text back. So I worked very closely with the layout teams and with my editor, Anil Fortune, so that we made sure that the big pictures were really big. And, you know, thinking, what would Milton Subotsky do? You know, would he approve of pictures being recolored? Would he approve of behind the scenes shots and so on? So I think we got the balance right.
I think so too, because just even thumbing through the book as I did when I first got this, it's just some of the pictures just pop. They come right out, and there's a lot of really high quality images that, like I said, some of these pictures I have seen before, some of them I have not, but they're all, like there's some full page pictures that are just wonderful, and of course the size of the book really picks that out, and I think. And I think now with the marketing evidence going back, I don't think anybody would think twice about paying £50 for a larger book. I think, especially nowadays when people are dropping hundreds of pounds for old Dalek merchandise, it just doesn't seem to be holding back the Doctor Who, especially the collecting world. They're willing to put out whatever money they can to get these items, but I think that book would sell.
But the thing is, Larry, to you and me, it would sell, and we'd
Right.
be first in the queue, and we'd buy 2 copies. That's fine. But what Titan would say to me is, "That's fine, John, and Forbidden Planet will have it, and we sell it at the usual fan places. But this book's going to be in Barnes and Noble, in Amazon. Every bookshop in the world will have this book and does. So it needs to appeal to the person who's buying a book on maybe Avatar or Alien or Harry Potter or Jurassic Park or the ET
True.
anniversary book. So this book will be in between all of those on the shelf. That's the consumer that they're trying to attract, because they've got us. Like a
Right.
zombie, I'm like, I will buy this. How much is it? I don't look at the price. I'm like, just buy it quickly.
Yes.
But it is the others they're thinking of. They're not thinking of us fans who can be gouged for money.
I
But
guess,
no,
yeah,
I agree.
that is true. I have the benefit of for 5 years I was in the publishing industry, and so I do know that is absolutely true. It's not just about, well, yeah, we'll hit our niche fine, but we need to do better than that, otherwise it's not gonna fly. And there were so many, and in respect to that, there were so many Doctor Who projects that never got off the ground because of that. Same thing where they say we'll sell a handful and then we'll lose money. That was the way of the classic WH Allen hardcover editions. They all, they put them out there and they lost a lot of money on those because they were expensive to make, and they had to price them high, and they were, when those books came out, they were like £5.25, which back then was almost $30 today, and it's just a little tiny book. So I understand what you're saying, and then, so of course, this book probably sold well to non-Doctor Who fans as well as Doctor Who fans because of the nature of film. There's a lot of interest in film and in what goes into a film. A lot of film students, a lot of film aficionados, and people who there are people that like these movies who aren't necessarily Doctor Who fans, but they like these films because there's something about these films that make them something that you want to watch over and over again. There are for me, and it's nice that some of the actors are still around. Like Roberta Tovey and Jill Curzon are still doing it. They appear at conventions. They do all those things. Sadly, we just lost Bernard Cribbins, but he had a chance to be in the real series, which was really nice, and he'll be in the next episode that is coming out. The last, let's see, I was just the last part. You do a whole section on music, which is my background. I'm a music teacher by day job. So the soundtracks, and I have the vinyl edition of the soundtracks. The music was absolutely amazing, and of course they don't use any Doctor Who related themes or anything like that with it, but the music itself. So was there a lot of information from the from the composers or from the studio about the music?
Yeah. So the difference between if this was, say, a fan-made book or an unofficial book is that because this is licensed by Studio Canal, I have full access to all of their archive paperwork.
Oh, nice.
And so that would mean, completion guarantee bonds, daily reports, production reports, correspondence, insurance claims, these sorts of things. So there was information. There was cue sheets as well for this music cue sheets. So I was able to have a look at all of that. I think the difficulty is when it's this many pages, how much information can you put in? Because it's not Wikipedia, you can't endlessly put in everything you find. It's about the story that people are reading and the journey you want them to be on, bringing the fans in who know the story, but also people who don't know the films but want to find out more, and making sure that you kind of bring them through from the front to the end and that they feel that it was a worthwhile purchase. So that balance has always been difficult. So anytime I do break down the music and any technical aspects, we talk about separate M&E tracks, which is separate music and effects, and why they're separate and why they're merged as one track in the dub. We go into some of that, and why some of the music no longer exists as solitary tracks and so on, because I'm fascinated by that. But we have to keep that to a kind of a minimum, because you can lose people as well. I was going to have a section on the restoration of the film, because Techniscope is like a poor man's CinemaScope, where it takes half the frame size and it compresses it through an anamorphic lens, and the joints on the cut neg were mostly cement joints, which means you destroy the frame before the preceding and the other frame to make your joint. And I'm fascinated by that, but of course I'm not sure how much readers would want to know to that extent the kind of surgery involved with restoring films in 4K. So it's always that balance, isn't it? Especially for a book, you want to make sure that this is giving new information and new interviews and showing new things. And although there was a preview of my book as a mini kind of Lilliputian size book inside the 4K sets, which the publisher worked with Tyson and Studio Canal on, we needed to say, look, if you've bought that 4K set, you'll need this as well, because it's not just a repeat of what's in there. It needs to be more. It needs to be more, because why else would you buy it? And what you don't want is something which is a big hardback DVD insert booklet that's just been pumped up or pimped up so that you can get $50 out of someone. It has to stand on its own 2 feet, and I think we've probably achieved that here. And the music, the posters, all those sections exist separately, so we don't deal with them combined, which we could have done. I wanted them to appear as 2 separate films, and I think we've achieved that.
I think so too. I think the book is well organized. It's extremely well written. I enjoyed reading it.
Thank you.
It's just and it's an amazing thing. To my listeners, be patient. The book will be reissued again, and so there will be some more available. You certainly can. I don't think you're going to go wrong by not having one of these in your library, and definitely read it cover to cover. There are so many wonderful images. There's so many great descriptions, and just the whole. It'll make you want to watch the films again, and this time with a new eye. So my guest is John Walsh, who's joining us today from where are you speaking from today? Is it London or?
Yes, I'm in London. I'm in the Royal Borough of Greenwich in London.
Very good. So
I'm next to Greenwich Park.
So you're right on the time zone there. So
absolutely, yeah. I can see the observatory from my office window. So where I am now, I can see the observatory. So
fantastic.
The timeline. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, John, for being with us today. Listeners, stay tuned for the most outrageous offer.
Well, just before you go, I must say this to Larry, if it's not too late.
No, go ahead.
To mention, for people who have bought the book, we've got these book plates that I'm prepared to sign as long as we still have them here, and little bookmarks to go with them. So if you send me a screenshot of your Amazon review, you can find me online on various places, on Twitter and everywhere else. And if Larry, if you can caption up my contact details, and we'll send you one of these, a signed bookplate sticker that goes inside the book. You peel that off, and in it goes.
Oh, absolutely. And I did that already, so I'm looking forward to getting one of those myself. Fantastic. Thank you so much, John. Listeners, we'll be right back. Thank you, John. That was great.
Excellent. Good stuff.
That was
if you need anything else from me, let me know. But I hope that went well for you.
It did. It was perfect. I try to. I know we could probably go on for forever, but I try to keep them short so that you have the rest of your day, and I've got. I don't want my listeners to go, wow, that's a long one. But no, it's a lot of fun. I've been enjoying. This is my 4th year doing the podcast. This is our 61st episode, I believe. So it's been going well, and like I said, I forgot to. I also have one. I don't know if you did the Century 21 record. Yeah,
that's fabulous. Yeah,
got a few of those. Like I said, I've got Dalek stuff all over the. My favorite thing is this little toy eye stalk.
Oh wow! That's really nice.
It does. Let's see if I can find the switch here. It's just there's a. It's like a little. Oh, here we go. These are
That's
great.
fabulous.
You know, these little things came out, and there's so many things that came out with the Daleks. The movie poster over here that I got was a gift from Big Finish and Nicholas Briggs.
Oh,
So
right. Okay.
that was I talked with him a few years ago, but I didn't mention in the interview, but I love the fact that David Hawkins and or Peter Hawkins and David Graham did the voices of the Daleks, and Peter Purvis mentioned that he was really good friends with those guys, and they were always offset with their microphone, and you know, and that sometimes they would joke around with the microphone and say say things to the actors, and make it kind of lively. So it was an interesting talk. But anyway, thank you so much for your talk. I'll let you get on with your day, and I'll let you know when this hits so you can put it out there
Yes,
as well.
indeed.
All right.
Brilliant
Thank you.
stuff. Cheers, Larry.
Have a great day, John. Thank you again.
You too. You're welcome. Take care. Bye now.
Bye.